Morning guys, Ben from My Cycling Coach. Hope you're doing well today. I just wanted to check in with you this morning because I was having an interesting conversation with a coaching client yesterday evening about rest periods during interval sessions. Now this particular client was finding before they started working with me, they were doing interval sessions and they were struggling to actually complete those interval sessions or really perform them at the quality that they should have been. And they found that the main reason for this really was that their rest periods during the interval sessions was actually too short. And what was happening is they would maybe have 8 intervals planned in a session around threshold or above, so anaerobic VO2 max in those higher zones. They'd maybe have eight intervals planned in that session, and they'd be getting to interval 5 and finding that they just could not continue with the session because they just weren't having a sufficient amount of rest between each interval. They would also find that as they went on through the session and moved into each next interval, that the quality of that interval was just deteriorating as they went through the session. So they were finding that they just could not get to the intensity that was prescribed for each interval. So I said, okay, how long were your rest periods? And they were actually resting for half of the amount of time that they were working. And you can see this quite a lot with intervals. So let's say that if you are performing maybe a minute long interval at threshold or above, a lot of people will then rest for half that time, so they'll only then rest for 30 seconds. Now there is a time and a place for shorter rest periods like this, but generally if you're just trying to increase your power, build out your fitness, my advice would be that you double the time of the rest period. So if you're working for a minute, that you actually then rest for 2 minutes, because this is really just going to allow that aerobic system to kick in, which is going to really help with recovery, shuttle that lactate and lactic acid out the muscle, and just allow you to go into each of your next intervals during a session feeling a little bit more refreshed. And that's just going to allow you to perform each interval with a much better quality, and actually allow you to complete all of the intervals that you've got planned in your session. You know, there's really no need to be beating yourself up with a shorter rest period. Interval sessions are about you acquiring time in those higher zones, and really acquiring quality time in those zones and being able to complete each interval. And if your rest periods are too short and you're not being able to do that, then the session itself could actually be a complete waste of time, because you may have an hour, you've planned out that session, but if you can't complete it, then that session could be a complete waste. And our training time is valuable, so we want to make sure that we're getting the most from it. So it may even be that you need to take a couple of intervals out. It's better that you would perform maybe 5 intervals, complete those intervals with a bit of a longer rest period, acquire some real good quality time in the zone that you want to be in, rather than performing 8 shorter rest period and just really beating and smashing yourself up, not being able to do that session. So yeah guys, an example would be, just to give an example, if you are doing a minute long interval, rest for 2 minutes. Give this a go. If you are finding the same thing with your intervals, maybe your rest period's a bit short, yeah. If you found this useful, please just drop a like on the post, feel free to share, or even a comment. I'd love to hear some of your interval sessions, how long you're working for, how long you're resting for. It would be great to hear from you. So guys, enjoy your riding, have a great rest of your day, and speak soon.